Hey folks, Kevin here. Well, it's October 1st, 2019, and I thought I'd share one of our seed saving techniques. This past season, when we started our seeds indoor in the work area and started use our vacuum seeder and started all the seed flats, well, we had poor germination. And some of that has to do with how you're going about doing the whole seed saving process. So before I start with that, so today I'm talking about using San Marzano tomatoes. These are a Roma-like tomato that are an heirloom variety, meaning they breed true to themselves. When you plant these seeds, as long as you don't have another variety nearby that the bees can, or flies or wasps can pollinate the mother plant, then the seeds from this San Marzano tomato will produce an exact replica of it, basically. And we like this variety because of its delicious taste, lack of water content, pretty good shelf life once we harvest them, because we get big bins of them at a time and it takes a while to go through the whole processing process. And they're real easy to dehydrate, make great sauces. They're great in all our wraps every day. They're absolutely fantastic. These seeds came from M.I. Gardener, and I'll put a link in the description below to M.I. Gardener. They've got a YouTube channel, good information on their channel. And today what I want to do is share with you our system for saving the seeds. I think fermenting is one of the key steps that really increases your germination percentage, so the number of seeds that are actually going to germinate and produce healthy plants in the future. So here's what we do. The first thing is picking an open pollinated heirloom variety, or you've got to go through additional steps, and I won't do that in this video. So that means pulling up any other volunteer tomatoes in the area. If you live in close proximity to other people, you're going to have to create a screening system around, or do a bagging system. I'm not going to go into that in this video. But if you happen to live like we do, we live in the country and we can control the sources of pollen from other for the bees, so that we're getting our true heirloom varieties. So the first thing I do is I grab a bucket, a 5-gallon bucket, and I walk through the garden and I use my easy grabber to pick up the tomatoes that have fallen on the ground. And I don't care if they're green ones or small ones, or they got mold on them, or they got smushed. It just doesn't matter. Now, I like this easy grabber, and I'll put a link in the description below. We got this from Amazon. It's an aluminum housing, a plastic handle. It's got 2 retractable stainless steel bands that when I pull the trigger on it, it pulls the 2 cups close together. I can pick up rocks, I can pick up corn cobs, I can pick up fruit, and you could see the amount of grab there is. And with the cups, they actually do a really good job of grabbing things like tomatoes and fruit. And sometimes it's helpful to actually reach up and get fruit or nuts, whatever it may be, that's a little bit out of reach. So there'll be a link in the description below. So I go through the garden and I pick up all the ones along the floor and put them in the bucket. Next thing I do, I grab my sledgehammer. Yes, everything looks like a nail if you got a hammer. And when this bucket's about half full, then I'll go ahead and gently compress the tomatoes. What I'm trying to do is squish them. That's all I need to do in this step, is squish them, so that so the surface area of the tomato, the area that's surrounding the pulp where the seeds are, is getting exposed to the surroundings. Then, and now you could use a 2x4, you could use a branch, you could use a stick. If you got a small enough foot, you can have a boot on it and squish the tomato, or do it barefooted, squish the tomatoes. So once they're all squished, I add a small amount of water until all of the tomatoes are completely covered. Sort of like when we're fermenting our sauerkraut or whatever fermenting you're doing. you really want to have the fruit and the seed completely covered by water. Once I've got it covered by water, I use my next tool. Now, drywall people put up sheetrock. They'll mix their mud to do the sheetrock this way. This is used for paint. It may be used for some mortars as well. A good heavy-duty paddle. They come in all shapes and sizes. They're spiral type. This one I like for doing many of the seeds around here because it's got a nice solid bar. I put this in my handy cordless drill, and I start off at low speed and I go in both directions, and I just beat it up until I can actually see that there's more pulp, more of the inner part of the tomato being exposed. And then I put it on high speed and put it right in the center. And the reason I only have the bucket about half full total is so that the material doesn't start shooting out the sides of the bucket. That creates this vortex, which allows the stuff that really hasn't been broken down to work its way down into the system and work through it. Now just do it for about a minute's time. Then I may add just a little bit more water just to cover the surface of it, and then I just put one of the covers on the bucket. So that's the next step. Cover it, and I think you need to give it a good 48 hours, a couple days in there. Then once I've had it in the bucket for a couple of days, I'll come over, add some water to it, usually a jet stream hitting into it. It'll start to foam and froth some, and get the material to come up to the very surface of it. Sometimes I'll overflow it so that the foam comes out of the surface of it and really hit it with a good jet stream. But as you're hitting the jet stream, the seeds will leave the bottom. One of the things that happens in the fermenting process is the seeds are heavier. The pulp, all of the fleshy part of the tomatoes starts to break down. The microorganisms are breaking it down. The seeds break away and they fall to the bottom of the bucket. And then we go through the process of multiple decantings. In other words, you're pouring off the pulpy, fermented red material, the frothy material. You pour it off, and then you refill the bucket. The seeds settle to the bottom, and you do that several times. You may have to do it like 10 times. Then you end up with all these beautiful white heavy seeds that are on the bottom of the bucket. And those seeds, having gone through the fermenting process, probably have some of the greatest potential for successful germination if they're stored properly. Now they need to be dried out, so we need to, what I do is I take the seeds and I put it on one of our screeners. Now we have a whole series of different size screens, and those screens help us to save various different types of seeds that we gather here in the property. But I just go to the finest screen, I set it, I pour the remaining water that's in the bottom of the bucket with just the seeds, because I keep decanting, flushing off or letting the water roll out of the bucket that's on the surface, and refilling the bucket over and over again. And then there's just clear water and the good seeds at the base of the bucket. Then I pour that onto the screen, and I bring them in the house. And if it's hot and humid days, I'll turn on a dehumidifier in a room and let it become dehumidified. Not a dehydrator, a dehumidifier. And within 48 hours, those seeds can be put into a jar, put them into plastic, put them into an envelope, put a desiccant in there, one of the desiccants that you get from vitamins or from any of the products that you have. Having a dehydrator, you can put your desiccants inside of a dehydrator, desiccate those desiccants, and then put those in with the seeds, keep them in a cold, dark place. Could be in your refrigerator, but sealed nicely in a jar that's got a good seal on the top. So that's the process we go through with saving seeds. I may do other seed saving techniques. I'm going to be showing you the techniques where we dehull our almonds and collect the almond seeds as well as walnuts and all those things. So If you have any comments or questions, please leave them below so that I can get back to you on that. If you thought this video was of value, please give us a thumbs up, share it with your friends. Lots of people could be saving money saving their own seeds. And you can barter with your friends, trading seeds of different varieties, as long as you're confident that they'll go through the steps appropriately to enhance the chances of you getting what it is that you actually want, so that you're actually getting the heirloom that you desire. Well, thanks so much for watching, folks, and have a great day. Bye-bye now.